Well, let's take a look at the database administration and maintenance plan tasks. This is going to be a fairly short video because it's generally very easy to figure out these tasks. In fact, in many of the older days being SQL 2000, these used to all be wizards. And oops, I connected to the wrong thing, sorry. Wanted to connect to the database engine. And behind the scenes, they were DTS tasks. Those have since, in several cases, just become SSIS tasks that did the exact same thing. You will need a little bit of database administration background to be able to understand some of the things I'm going to talk about. If you are just an SSIS developer, then you won't really need to know this all that much. About the most things you'd have to know would be the backup, so that you could do like a backup in the middle of a package or something like that. But you wouldn't need to know all of them. So if your goal is just to quickly learn SSIS, you might skip this set and go to the next ones. Up to you. What I'm doing is I'm just creating a new integration services project, and I'm just going to pull up the tasks in the first video or the second video. Silly bug. The second video of this chapter, we kind of grouped a group of these together. So we said that the tasks, right, let's just get these guys here, and then the maintenance plan tasks down below, those were all database administration related. So let's take a look at those. I'm just going to walk you through these fairly quickly. I don't think that they are that difficult to get. The transfer databases task, fairly easy one to understand. You are moving or copying a database from source to destination. Now, you do need to make sure that the source and the destinations are SQL servers. So up in the top, it says to transfer a SQL database between two instances of SQL Server. Okay, so we can transfer between 2000, 2005, 2008. We can intermingle if we need to, particularly going up. Like we can easily go from SQL 2000 to 2005. Going back down is going to always, downverting a database instead of up, or down converting instead of upverting or up converting. It's always going to be problematic though. But really, it's as simple as defining who the source is, what the destination is, and you make your decision here whether you want to copy or move the database. Okay, that kind of makes sense. At the end of a copy, you would have two online databases. At the end of a move, you'd only have one online database. Now you get your methods. Just let me finish with this one. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of talk about it. The two methods, the two choices you get are online or offline. If you choose the offline method, it will actually take the database offline, detach the database, which is how it takes it offline, copy the files across the network to the new location, and then reattach. And if you said copy, it's going to reattach at both instances. If you said move, it would only reattach or attach to the new instance. And that's the fastest way, by the way. However, it's going to kick everybody out of the system at the source. If you keep this database online, it's going to use what's called SMO, and it's going to basically script all of the objects out using SMO, and that's going to be quite slow. SMO equals slow for that. So I think really that is about all you've got to know about the transfer database task. SQL to SQL, copy, move, and whether it's online or offline. Given the choice, I would like to keep them offline because it's going to be faster. Now, the transfer error messages task, if you go to your SQL Server's master database, so let me go to my master and I look in the sys messages where the message ID is greater than 50,000. If you get back 0 rows from running this query, then it really probably isn't going to make any difference from you here. I actually do have one message. When I was doing my DBA class, course 157, SQL 2008 DBA, I put in the most awesome error of 2009. So I actually have a custom written message, and we add these in with a stored procedure, add message, SP add message. There it is. So SP add message, you pass in the error number that you want. So 50,002, your severity, another bitchin message, and whatever else we would put in here. I think that's all I have to put in, right? That's the basics. And so now I can look, and now I see the message that we put in. And I know this right here looks like it's a double quote, but it's actually two single quotes back to back. It's just the font that I chose. Okay. Okay, so now I have error messages on this server that I'm using in an application. They're stored system error messages. And what this will do, this transfer error messages, is gives me the choice to copy these from a source to a destination. So I could copy to another SQL server, right? So again, you notice up here, copy between two instances of SQL server. So I just am given the choice to copy those to another server. That's all it is. As opposed to scripting that out, right? I don't think this would be that difficult to script out or put in source control. Transferring jobs, you can understand what that would do. That's just simply copying jobs from one server to another. When you do copy the jobs, you are given the choice of a collection. You can choose all jobs or just certain jobs to be copied at runtime. Transfer logins is the most dangerous of these. I say the most dangerous without really qualifying it too much, because it's actually fairly complex to understand why this can be so dangerous. In the SQL 2008 DBA class, we spent a lot of time on this particular situation where you want to keep two servers in sync. So you want to copy the logins between the servers. And we talked about the concept of the SID, the server identifier, and we talked about how we wanted that SID to be either unique across all servers if we had a login with the same name, or did we want it to be the same across all servers? And generally speaking, we want it to be all the same. If you use the transfer logins and you choose, notice you can choose which logins you want. You just click the box and choose, I want to transfer these logins. Then it will create a random SID at the destination server. So you'll end up with two, oops, wrong thing, sorry. You would end up with, oops, let's choose a prettier color there. So server A might have the login Scott with the SID of XO9 whatever. But then when you run this, you have the login Scott and it has the SID XO8, something like that. And so technically they may have the same password, the same language ID, but they're not the same logins. They're different logins because they don't have the same SID. So in the DBA class, we talk about we'd rather say, no. We want these to be identical in case we need to fail over from server A to server B. That's not always the case. You don't always need to do it that way. But if you use this transfer logins, you wind up with two logins with different SIDs. Okay. Master stored procedures. Do you have any stored procedures in the master database that you wrote or that you added to SQL Server? I do. So if you wanted to synchronize these, this would be how you would actually do that. You basically define who the master is, and then you copy the master stored procedures from the source to the destination. The big one that you probably will run into and work with if you are an SSIS developer is the objects task. This is how you can just copy a table from one server to another. You can decide whether you want to drop the objects, whether you want to copy the data or just make an empty version of the table. Notice that it's false, so it's just going to create empty copies of any tables that you use. It also defaults to not using the same collation, so it will use the database default or the server default collation at the destination, which may affect you. You then could copy all objects by setting that to true, or you can define with the collection which objects that you want. This copy database users down here, and there's a lot of things to note on this. Notice the server logins. If you choose true, it's basically going to run the transfer logins task. It's just going to copy them from the source to the destination, but it will create random SIDs. It does not default to copying the permissions, doesn't copy indexes, primary keys. None of that is set by default here. So there's a lot of things that you could improve upon if you make the changes down here. You might want it to actually copy all of those things. Okay, just double click on it and it'll turn them to true. Okay. So all DRI objects, by the way, will do primary keys and foreign keys. Declarative, referential, integrity. DRI. Declarative, referential, integrity. Okay. So that's the objects task. I tell you what, let's go ahead and end here. This is going to run a little bit long if I don't. And let's take a look at the maintenance plan tasks in the next video.